What is up, my good dudes? Today's video's, like most of my videos recently, it's gonna be a little different. I think what I'm gonna do in this video is I'm gonna cover sort of my thoughts and opinions on the Royal Enfield Classic 350. I like it. I'm gonna make a video about it. So here we are. We're gonna do it now. This time, instead of my normal, just off the cuff rambling, I made some bullet points so that way I can keep track of my thoughts. First bullet point, why did I buy it? I really like the way that it looks. I like the style of it, and I really like old bikes. And when I first saw one, it was like right before they left the market in like 2016 or 2018. It was the Classic 500. It had the Kickstarter. It had like the older styling. And I really liked it and I wanted it, but I didn't have the money for it at the time. And then by the time, a few years later, when I did have some resources and I was like, okay, I'm gonna buy one of these, they were just gone. And I did some research, some time passed, and then I found an article stating that a representative from Royal Enfield of India said that they were going to be coming to the United States. And then I was following its release pattern from country to country online as it made its way basically around the world and last stop the United States. And I got my shit together and I went out and I bought mine. And it's an echo of like all the other weird old bikes that I've owned. I've just in this go around, it was like, okay, I want to get a vehicle that maybe this time I don't have to spend 3/4 of the amount of time that I own working on it. I can just enjoy it, right? So there was a lot of upsides. It's cool to get something new. I never bought a new motorcycle before in my life, and it wasn't even that expensive. I bought it on sale for like just above $4,000. And for a new bike in the United States, that is nothing. That is absolutely nothing. Unless you're buying like a Chinese manufactured bike from some dealership. Build quality. I think that the build quality is overall good. I like the fact that it's made out of metal. I like the fact that the fenders are metal like my 1970s bikes that I've had. And I don't know, it's heavy in a way that I like, which I know that is not something that a lot of other people are going to like. The build quality is good. It does have some downsides. My biggest chief complaint about build quality that I thought was just a problem with the bike in the way it was produced is the front brakes were barely usable at all. And it turns out that the dealership that I bought it from failed to bleed the brakes. And when I went back within a month of buying it, they said that it was going to cost me, what was it? They were going to charge me 2 hours of shop time at $135 an hour because I didn't buy their in-house warranty. And I said, fuck you guys, I'll just do it myself. And then that shirred up a lot. I think that the seats, they're wearing out quick, but also I'm not the nicest to this bike. Sometimes I fail to put the cover on it when it's raining outside, and the storage unit that I put it in the winter isn't climate controlled. I don't have a garage, so like the seats getting rough. There's some other components for the EFI system. That piece, if I can get it in the video, that does not weather well. And I'm going to probably have to replace it in the future. Or inform the next person that buys it if I decide to sell the bike eventually. Who knows? Those are my two big chief complaints. The Seat tires that came on it, I haven't changed them, and I've ridden on the highway, I've ridden all through town, I've gone on windy back roads, I've taken it off-road and rode on like fire service trails, and some that are just like a little bit worse than fire service trails. I don't know, I stopped riding it off-road because I didn't want to ruin it. Ride quality. The thing rides like it's on rails. It wants to be up. It makes it so that way when you're putting in an input, you have to want to put in that input. It's never going to get squirrely. It's never going to get outside of your control unless you lack the necessary skills and are building them, right? It demands your attention and it demands your input in a way that I really like. I think the only place that where I do not like riding it is on the grooved sections on the highway. And I'm sure a lot of people who ride motorcycles can relate to me on that one. But that could be down to like, maybe the tires aren't perfect. Maybe it's too much PSI or not enough PSI that makes me feel like shit when I'm on those grooved sections of the highway, or the road's bad, right? I think it rides really good in that way, and that's what lends it to feeling really confident off-road. I don't think twice. I rode it on a bunch of trails. I put a pass for riding it in my area all throughout like the local hills and stuff, and I've taken it where I don't think anybody in their right mind would take a motorcycle, and it does it, and it doesn't complain, and I've never stalled it out going uphill. It just does what it's supposed to do, and then it brakes well on top of it once I got the brakes bled, because of its stance and the camber or the rake of the front fork, and it's wanting to be upright. It lends itself extremely well for like those situations where you're standing up on your pegs. And that's something that before I bought it, I never could have guessed that. And I couldn't have known it until I rode it. I think, and like, it just makes it a really well-rounded, fun bike. And like, if you needed to get somewhere, that bike could get you there. I'm confident. I even accidentally rode it in snow because the first year I got it, I wanted to have I wanted to have it broken before spring, so that way I could ride it all spring. And I was riding out in the hills, and I ended up riding through like some snowy roads that I could not avoid. Yeah, it was sketchy as hell. Yeah, it felt dangerous, but I didn't wreck. I don't think I could do that on a sport bike. I don't think I could have done that, and I really wish at the time I was making YouTube videos, because that would have been very good to have caught on camera. The aftermarket support and aftermarket parts. At one point when I first got it, I accidentally dropped it. It was just like a stupid thing. Like I was parking it, and it was just the slowest fall you could imagine. It was so stupid. And I broke off the clutch or brake handle. Something like that. I broke off one of the two. And parts, cheap and coming from overseas, they got here damn fast. For like this kind of bike, you wouldn't imagine that the parts network in the United States is real strong. But the parts supply overseas is so strong, it's easy to get parts here, which is very cool. And I really like that. My overall thoughts. I think that this bike I think it's a good bike, and I do really like it, and it's genuinely a joy to own. So the build quality is good. Some components admittedly don't weather extremely well. The road quality and road manners it's a good, well-rounded on-road machine, and those qualities extend to, I'd say, intermediate off-road use. I wouldn't be conquering the hardest trails in America, at least not without changing out the stock tires first. I did all of my off-road riding on the Seat original tires. I don't know, I do tend to lend myself towards lower displacement bikes, because I will always have more fun riding a slow bike fast than a fast bike slow. And I know it's such a broken saying that everybody uses to justify smaller displacement motorcycles and things of that nature, but that's very real for me. I like thinking about like cornering and keeping up speed and thinking about when I'm going to shift, and not thinking about or like giving up that thought process to a computer, or like letting the bike's overall displacement let me just set it in like, let's say 4th gear, and then all you do is throttle in and throttle out. I think that's boring. I enjoy thinking about it. I enjoy riding it. It makes me feel like I'm more active in the process, and it makes riding fun. And then it allows me to just disconnect my thoughts from reality. I could just ride. I think that if I had a bike that could do too much for me, I probably wouldn't like riding motorcycles. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah. I think that's basically going to cover like my overall thoughts. I think it's a fun, plucky, spirited bike that doesn't super belong on the, well, that does not belong on the interstate. It's a beautiful bike, and it's made out of metal, and it feels good to ride, and it's rewarding to ride, and it doesn't really matter if you're a first-time rider because it's got really good handling characteristics, and it doesn't matter if you're a very experienced rider because it wants you to interact with it. It doesn't lean immediately. It wants you to give that input, and it requires it to ride it, at least ride it well. So, yeah, I don't know. I love the Royal Enfield Classic 350, and I know that other people aren't going to have that same opinion, and that's okay. That's why there's so many motorcycles. But I think that there's a very big audience of people that do genuinely love these bikes and love lower displacement bikes in general, and they're going to, I hope that they resonate with my thoughts on that, because I don't know. At this point, I'm rambling. So I think this is where I'm going to wrap it up. So, yeah. Until next time, have a good one, my good dudes.